Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Mexico and Canada retaliate with levies on the US after Trump imposes new tariffs. We'll find you and kill you, says Trump after the US attacks Islamic State terror targets in Somalia. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to begin talks on Phase 2 of Gaza Truce in the US. And in cricket, South Africa bundled out for a paltry 82 runs against India in the final of the Women's Under-19 T20 World Cup in Kuala Lumpur. US President Donald Trump has announced sweeping tariffs on key trading partners Canada, Mexico and China, citing illegal immigration and drug trafficking as a major threat to the country. Under the new tariffs, Canadian and Mexican exports to the US will face a 25% levy starting from Tuesday, though energy products from Canada will be taxed at a lower rate of 10%. The Chinese goods already subject to existing duties will see an additional 10% tariff. The decision is expected to disrupt supply chains across industries, including energy, automobiles and food. Acknowledging potential short-term disruptions for the US, Trump says that tariffs will eventually make the country rich and strong.
Tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. Cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption and people will understand that.
And responding to Trump's tariffs threat, Mexico, Canada and China announced to retaliate with counter-tariffs. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in a dramatic tone, warned of a fracture in long-standing Canada-US ties. He responded to the US trade action with 25% tariffs against $106 billion worth of US goods. He also said that Canada would not looking to escalate the issue and will continue to stand up for Canada and also for Canadians.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the US trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum also announced to retaliate against Trump's tariffs. Sheinbaum said that she had told her economy minister to implement Plan B that they have been working on, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests. China also vowed corresponding countermeasures against new Trump tariffs. In a statement issued, Beijing said it would file a lawsuit at the World Trade Organization, arguing that the unilateral imposition of tariffs by the US seriously violates WTO rules. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Panama, where he plans to raise President Donald Trump's demands for the Panama Canal. Rubio, on his first trip as the top US diplomat, will tour the Panama Canal and meet President Jose Raul Molino on Sunday. He will also travel to 4 other Latin American countries. Rubio's mission comes as Trump imposed steep tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China, another step showing a far more aggressive US foreign policy. Protesters took to the streets in United States' Atlanta, rallying for immigrant rights and opposing mass deportations after US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, launched targeted operations in the metro area. Around 1,000 demonstrators gathered along the Buford Highway, Atlanta's immigrant hub, demanding an end to the recent ICE raids that began last week. The protest comes amid a nationwide surge in immigration arrests under the new Trump administration. U.S. forces carried out airstrikes in Somalia targeting a senior Islamic State attack planner and other members of the terrorist group, killing many of them. U.S. President Donald Trump on Truth Social post said that the attack has killed those who were hiding in caves and threatening the U.S. and its allies. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said that Saturday's strikes were carried out in the Golis Mountains. An initial assessment indicated that multiple operatives were neutralized. No civilians were harmed. The strikes come just days after Interpol announced the arrest of several suspected members of the Islamic State in East Africa. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will begin talks on a second phase to the Gaza ceasefire in Washington, D.C. on Monday, his office said hours after the completion of the fourth hostage prisoner exchange of the truce. Netanyahu departed for Washington, D.C. on Sunday to meet U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss critical issues.
In this meeting, we'll deal with important issues, critical issues facing Israel and our region. A victory over Hamas, achieving the release of all our hostages, and dealing with the Iranian terror axis and all its components, an axis that threatens the peace of Israel, the Middle East, and the entire world.
Earlier, Netanyahu, in a video message, said that his country expects the coming phases of the prisoner-hostage swap to be carried out safely. During a video statement after the fourth exchange of hostages for prisoners with Hamas amid a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu welcomed home the three released Israeli hostages released by Hamas.
Earlier this week, in the previous phase, we made it very clear that we would not tolerate any violation of the agreement. We insisted on this, and we brought forward by a week the release of three of our hostages. Also, after the scenes that we all saw the day before yesterday, we demanded a safe exit for our hostages in the coming releases. As you saw today, this steadfast stand proved itself. The message was delivered, received, and carried out. Israel expects that all of the coming phases also be carried out safely.
Prime Minister Netanyahu named retired Major General Eyal Zamir as Israel's new armed forces chief after his predecessor resigned last month, taking responsibility for failing to stop Hamas's October 2023 attack. Zamir replaces Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, who resigned on January 21, 2 days after a fragile ceasefire took effect in Gaza, which has now seen the release of 18 hostages by Hamas and its ally, the Islamic Jihad. In its third week of a military operation in West Bank, Israeli military has released a footage showing airstrikes on Jenin. In the video, a vehicle was being struck. Since the operation began, Israeli forces have demolished houses and destroyed roads in the Jenin refugee camp, displacing thousands. The raids started just days after a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Updates now from the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Tensions escalate between Russia and Ukraine, with both sides accusing each other for a strike on a boarding school sheltering civilians in the Ukrainian-occupied town of Zudsha in Moscow's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a major cross-border assault last August. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky shared aftermath footage of attack on Kursk boarding school. Ukraine's military said that 4 people had died and dozens injured or rescued in what President Zelensky described as a Russian aerial strike on a boarding school in the Ukrainian-held part of Russia's Kursk region. Meanwhile, rescue operations are in progress as local residents look on in the Ukrainian city of Poltava after a Russian missile strike that hit overnight. 17 people have been reported injured while 22 have been evacuated. According to President Zelensky, the death toll has risen to 8. The historic Bristol Hotel has been destroyed following a Russian missile strike. The Odessa Regional Military Administration released aerial images showing the destruction of the historic Bristol Hotel. The attack targeted Odessa's UNESCO-listed historic center, wounding 7 people who are now receiving medical care. The strike caused significant damage to around 15 cultural heritage sites, including the Vuccini House, the local Philharmonic, the Museum of Western and Eastern Art, and the Porto Franco Bank. The conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo is clearly on the brink of a broader regional war, as Africa's top health agency warned the fighting could spark new outbreaks of serious diseases. The Rwanda-backed armed group M23 has vowed to march on the capital Kinshasa after capturing eastern DRC's biggest city of Goma earlier this week. As the Rwanda-backed M23 group controls most of Goma in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, thousands of people who had settled in camps for internally displaced people or IDPs on the outskirts of the city say they have no choice but to head back home. The lightning offensive is the latest to scar the mineral-rich region, which has seen relentless conflict involving dozens of armed groups kill an estimated 6 million people over 3 decades. In the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, prices have soared even further, worsening the hardship faced by local populations who were already grappling with economic instability. The soaring prices are a result of several factors, including ongoing conflict, disrupted supply chains, inflation, and a lack of infrastructure, all of which have compounded the already fragile economic situation in the region. In Sudan, at least 56 people were killed across Greater Khartoum in artillery shelling and airstrikes by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The attack by the RSF on the Sabrain market Saturday also injured over 150 others. Sudan's regular army and the paramilitary RSF have been locked in a battle for power since April 2023 that's intensified this month, with the army fighting to take back control of the capital. Both the RSF and the army have been repeatedly accused of targeting civilians and indiscriminately shelling residential areas. In addition to killing tens of thousands of people, the war has uprooted more than 12 million and decimated Sudan's fragile infrastructure, forcing most health facilities out of service. At least 20 suspected Bangladeshi migrants drowned after their boat capsized off Libya while attempting to reach Italy. The Bangladesh Foreign Ministry said the bodies found near Brega lacked identification but were believed to be Bangladeshis. The Red Crescent buried the victims in Ajabia due to decomposition. The Bangladesh embassy had earlier raised concerns over bodies washing ashore in Libya. Right now, take a look at what else is making news around the world. A Rome court ordered the return of 43 migrants from Albania to Italy, challenging the government's migration policy. The migrants, mainly from Egypt and Bangladesh, had been detained in Albanian camps after being rescued in the Mediterranean. This ruling marks the third legal setback for Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's plan to process asylum seekers outside the country. Tens of thousands blocked 3 Danube River bridges in Serbia's Novi Sad, demanding justice for 15 people killed in a railway station collapse. The protests, initially focused on the disaster, have grown into a wider movement against alleged government corruption. Authorities have charged 13 people, but demonstrators blame President Alexander Vucic's administration of mismanagement. Dozens of demonstrators gathered in Paris to demand the release of 3 French nationals imprisoned in Iran on spying charges. The individuals, who were traveling as tourists, were arrested in 2022. Rights groups have accused Iran of detaining foreign nationals to gain diplomatic leverage that Iran has repeatedly denied. And still to come on DD India Live. India successfully conducts 3 consecutive flight trials of an air defense system. And India to lock horns against England in 5th and final T20 international match in Mumbai.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. At least 7 people died when a Medivac plane crashed in Philadelphia on Friday. Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker said at least 1 other person who was in a car had been killed as well, and that 19 people had been injured.
At this point, we can confirm that there were 6 souls on board the plane that crashed on Cottman Avenue last evening. A pediatric patient, their mother, and a 4-person flight crew. We can also confirm that at least 1 other person perished in this tragedy, and this individual was in a car.
The crash, the second major aviation disaster in the United States this week, occurred when the twin-engine Learjet 55 plummeted towards a busy Philadelphia neighborhood, exploding on impact and showering wreckage over homes and vehicles. The U.S. Federal Aviation Authority said it was launching an investigation with the National Transportation Safety Board. Both agencies are already probing the collision of a passenger jet from an American airline subsidiary and a Black Hawk helicopter.
We're still looking for the cockpit voice recorder. We have located the 2 engines, but for the cockpit voice recorder, we're still looking for it. It could be intact, but likely it is damaged. It may be fragmented. The question is, are we classifying this as an accident? Yes, we are.
The U.S. Army on Saturday released the name of the 3rd soldier who died on a Black Hawk helicopter that collided with an American Airlines passenger jet near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport this week, killing 67 people in all. The soldier was identified as Captain Rebecca Loback of Durham, North Carolina. She was an aviation officer in the regular Army since 2019 and assigned to the 12th Aviation Battalion, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Meanwhile, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board have determined the CRJ-700 airplane was at 325 feet, plus or minus 25 feet at the time of impact, officials said at a Saturday evening news briefing. The information was based on data recovered from the jet's flight data recorder, the black box that tracks the aircraft's movements, speed and other parameters. The new detail suggests the Army helicopter was flying above 200 feet, the maximum altitude for the route it was using. India's Defence Research and Development Organization successfully conducted 3 consecutive flight trials of the very short-range air defence system off the coast of Chandipur in the Indian state of Odisha on Saturday. The missiles effectively intercepted and destroyed low-flying drone targets under different conditions, demonstrating their precision and effectiveness. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hailed the achievement, congratulating DRDO, the armed forces and industry partners for the successful trials, calling it a major boost to India's defence capabilities. The ongoing Mahakumbh in Prayagraj continues to witness an overwhelming influx of devotees, reaffirming its status as the world's largest religious gathering. With the Mahakumbh drawing millions each day, authorities remain on high alert, implementing enhanced security and crowd control measures to ensure a safe and seamless experience for all attendees. Authorities intensified security and crowd management efforts to prevent overcrowding at the ghats, as an estimated 4 to 5 crore devotees are expected to participate in Basant Panchami sacred bathing ritual, the third Amrit Snan of the 45-day Mahakumbh. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. On World Wetlands Day, celebrated on 2nd February, Chief Minister of Northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, launched the Agra Land Conservation Program to protect and restore wetland ecosystems. India still stands as the country with the highest number of Ramsar sites in Asia and third in the world. Naxal-affected Chunchuna village in the eastern Indian state of Chhattisgarh has finally received clean drinking water for the first time since independence through the Jal Jeevan Mission, a government initiative. The village, with a population of around 100 households, now has access to safe water. The Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, visited the forward areas of the Creek sector, reviewing operational preparedness and infrastructure development. He interacted with military personnel, witnessing battle drills showcasing multi-agency synergy. In sports news, South Africa were bundled out for a paltry 82 runs against India in the final of Women's Under-19 T20 World Cup in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday. South Africa skipper Kaylia Reneke won the toss and opted to bat, but the decision backfired as they lost 5 wickets for merely 44 runs. They were unable to recover after early jolts. Gongari Trisha was the pick of the bowlers. She snapped up 3 wickets, while Parunika Sisodia, Ayushi Shukla and Vaishnavi Sharma picked up 2 scalps each. India have had a flawless campaign so far, winning all their 6 matches in the tournament. India will hope to finish the T20 series against England on a high when they lock horns in the 5th and final match in Mumbai on Sunday. The hosts have already sealed the series with a commanding 3-1 lead and will aim to further assert their dominance with final victory. India might give opportunities to some youngsters. For England, the final match is an opportunity to salvage some pride. Despite occasional flashes of brilliance, the visitors have struggled with consistency. They need to deliver a strong performance and fire as a collective unit to end their T20 campaign on a positive note, ahead of the 3-match ODI series against the Men in Blue. Talent shines when given a chance. At the National Games, Uttarakhand's rugby team is proving this fact with their performance. The state's rugby team at the National Games is made up of players who come from humble backgrounds. Some working at fast food shops, some as bus conductors and others helping their families in farming. Our correspondent Narayan Singh brings this inspiring journey of these athletes.
Carry an unbreakable spirit. Life was never easy for them. Financial struggles, lack of resources, and limited exposure could have stopped their journey. But they never gave up. Rohit, who serves food at a fast food shop, never let hardships hold him back. Gaurav Kumar, a bus conductor in Haridwar, manages his shifts while training relentlessly.
सर पहली बात तो समय निकालना पड़ता है मेरे को इस काम के लिए, क्योंकि सुबह डेली का रूटीन यही होता है कि सुबह से स्कूल जाना, फिर स्कूल से वापस आके मोमोज़ वगैरह बनाना, उसमें समय लग जाता है। 4 बजे तक मोमोज़ निपटाया अपना तुरंत, फिर उसके बाद प्रैक्टिस शाम की, फिर शाम से प्रैक्टिस के आने के बाद फिर अपना मोमोज़ का काउंटर लगाना। खेल सर मैंने ये अपना रुड़की ग्राउंड है नहर का, ये इसमें खेलते देखा था बच्चों को, तो वहीं से मैं भी खेलने के लिए चला गया।
सर मैं 12th क्लास जब मैंने डिग्री 12th करी पास करी तो सर मेरे पर ज़्यादा टेंशन आ गई सर, पैसे पूछेगी सर, पैसे घर पापा काम करते हैं, खेती करते हैं, उनसे गुजारा नहीं हो रहा सर हमारा। तो फिर सर मैंने कंडक्टरी करी, 3-4 साल हो गए कंडक्टरी कर रहा है सर मैं। फिर उसके बाद सर मैंने यहाँ से आया तो यहाँ ट्रायल दी सर, यहाँ सिलेक्शन हुआ मेरा। फिर सर मैंने जॉब छोड़ दी अपनी। जॉब छोड़ने के बाद सर घर वाले कहने लगे कोई नहीं तू खेल, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, तुम यहाँ खेलो, कोई नहीं, जॉब छोड़ आंधी छूट रही है, कुछ नहीं होएगा इसमें।
Rahil, who helps his father in farming, spends his mornings in the fields and his evenings on the rugby ground. Government schemes gave them a platform. Support for sports at the grassroots level ensured that talent was not wasted. Training facilities, mentorship and financial aid helped them dream bigger.
रग्बी की जो प्रॉपर एकेडमी उत्तराखंड के अंदर वो रुड़की में है, वहीं मैं ट्रेनिंग करता हूँ। रग्बी खेल मैंने 2 साल हो गए ज्वाइन किया था, तो इसमें बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली मुझे। उत्तराखंड रग्बी एसोसिएशन ओरिजिनल प्लेयरों को ही हमारे अपने साथ लेकर के चलती है और मौका देती है और बहुत अच्छे लेवल तक हमें खिलाने ले जाती है।
Uttarakhand is taking part in these national games rugby competition. They're in the top 50% of our states. We have 27 states, so they're in the top 50%. But you watch Uttarakhand rugby. We've made some plans with the Uttarakhand Sports Administration. In the next 2 years, Uttarakhand should be in the top 8 states of this country. The growth will be quick and decisive.
Today, they stand strong on the national stage. Their journey is an inspiration for countless others who dare to dream despite hardships.
Athletes from humble background are taking part in the national games and they are showcasing their talent. And there are many wonderful stories of rags to riches from this edition of the national game in Uttarakhand. And government is also leaving no stone unturned to give equal opportunity to each and every athlete. With camera person Uttam Narayan Singh, DD India, Dehradun.
And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. Be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.